Hi there, Tammy here, your online Tae Kwon Do and Hap Ki Do tutor with 5 tips to take your forms to the next level. Now, this video is not designed for brand new beginners, white and yellow belts. In fact, I typically start working with students on this around orange belt, which in our program is about 6 months to 8 months in. So, tip number 1 is to make sure both of your hands are working. So, a lot of times, students are doing a technique, whether it be a high block, or an outside block, or a punch. And they will have only one hand working. Let me show you what I mean. My high block hand is actively working, but this hand casually pulled back. Now, when I'm here at my check, if I think of my pull hand first, pull hard, and then I put that with my other hand moving hard. Do you see how much power that had? Double the power. Here it is with a outside block. Here it is with a punch. Working on my pull hand, pulling it back. Watch. Not pulling it back. Let's see if I can do it. Not pulling it back, pulling it back. Now when you're pulling both hands, a lot of times, the first time students will try this, they'll end up like this. Because they're not used to the opposition of that working hand. So you might want to try this in front of a mirror. And make sure you hold your shoulders square. You have to use your abs. You have to engage your ab muscles to work both hands, which is actually correct technique. Because you want to be tight in your abs anyway as strikes are coming towards your body, right? So here's my pull hand. I'm going to practice my pull hand first. Boom, boom. Now I'm going to put them both together. Tighten my abs. Okay? That'll double your power in your technique. Tip number 2, on your stances, don't come up. So here's what students will typically do. Let's say you're in a forward stance and you're going to travel forward. They'll come up and then down. You're losing energy in your technique. What you need to do is keep those knees bent and look at this causes me to push off that back leg to get into that stance. Whereas when I come up, I've got no push forward. There's no thrust. I'm falling into the stance. I'm not controlling my body, which is why it looks weaker or stronger. So let's look at that again. When I'm here, the only way to continue stepping forward is to push off of this leg. Do you see that? To keep that momentum going without raising the heel. So there it is, forward stance to forward stance. Let's look at it from a back stance to forward stance. So here is a back stance, right? Leaning, my weight is on my back leg. If I come up and then go down, again, I'm losing that energy. Where here, if I keep that low, I can push off of that left leg, like I'm pushing into the ground and creating forward momentum, energy, and keeping my body up and square. So now let's take a look at what happens when you're working both hands and you're doing your stances without coming up, and what it looks like when you do it and when you don't do it, so that way you can see the difference. So let's start with a forward stance with a punch. So watch this one. This is a punch where I'm working just the one hand and I'm coming up. Let's look at it again. I'm working just the one hand. The other hand I'm pulling casually to my belt. And I came up. Now, I'm going to work both hands and I'm still going to come up. Hey, that looks a little better, didn't it? So look at it. I'm working both hands and I'm coming up. Now, I'm going to work both hands and I'm going to stay low and I'm going to push off of this leg as I travel forward. Did that look stronger? Cleaner, sharper, and I'm using my body correctly. Here it goes again. All right, so there is number 1, both hands working. Number 2, stances that don't come up. Number 3 is you want to start learning how to snap your punches. So most instructors will, at some belt level, want their students to be able to snap their uniforms. How do you do that? Say loose, tight. Tight your arms. Like squeeze your muscles and then relax. Squeeze your muscles and then relax. Okay? So the way you cause your uniform to punch is loose, tight, loose. It's easier to learn with a downward motion and then transfer it up to your punches. So let's try this. Pretend I have a dime in my hand and you want to snatch it out. And I've got this dime down here. Do you hear that? That's me moving really quick. And I only tightened when I went to grab that imaginary coin in my hand. So I got to snap out of my uniform because I used the technique loose, tight, relax. Now here's what happens. A lot of students will go loose, really good, they go tight, hold, and then they're like, there's no snap because you've got to relax right away. Think about grabbing the coin. I grab it. I tighten for just a second, but I've got to stay loose again to pull back out of the way to get that coin out of your hand. So I've got to be loose, tight real fast, and loose again. So here it is. Loose, start up here. The easiest way to learn is with the downward motion. Loose your hands, right? They're not a proper punch, but we're learning. Then down, fast, tight, and let them relax. Now look at my elbow. Never, ever, ever straight your elbow all the way out. A lot of times students, when they first try this, they think I'm putting my arms out really hard, but I'm not. I'm always keeping a little bend. If you straighten your arm, you'll know it because you'll feel it hyperextend. You'll go, ooh. So make sure when you do it, you have that little bend. Let me do it with my sleeve up. See that? Loose, tight, relax. Loose, tight, relax. Now you can pull that up to your punch. Loose, and sometimes I'll tell students, like, don't make your hands tight like you normally would, just to get the hang of it, and then we'll put your technique back the way it belongs. Loose, tight, relax. You hear the uniform snap? This is a lightweight uniform. Okay? If I can make a lightweight uniform snap, imagine if I put a heavyweight uniform on. So, there we go. Number 1 was both hands working. Number 2 was your stances not coming up. Number 3 was putting the snap into your punch. And number 4, to sharpen your forms, is to look before you turn. But there's a secret to it. You gotta look as you step. It's a timing thing. Watch. Look, step. That's out of sync. Like my body's moving. 1, 2. That's what you did when you was a white belt, probably. But if I bend my knees and I step out into my stance, and I look as I step, it's gonna look sharp. Watch. If you learned a basic form as a white belt, you were probably taught something like this. One hand up, one hand down. Step your leg, look your head. Now turn. Now you're intermediate. So you gotta start putting that together into steps. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna step out, bring your hands up at the same time. Boom! Look at that. My foot and my snap, loose, tight, loose, should land together. Boom! Now all I have to do is I have to look to it, because you always look before you cross the street, right? Same thing in a form. If there's an attack coming from over there, I'm going to look fast. Like if somebody is coming at me, right? I'm going across the street and my friend yells at me, Tammy, stop! There's a car coming. I'm going to be like this. Whoa, he's going to catch my attention. Same thing. Here, I'm going to step out, look, and up. Now, look at the difference. Huge, huge. Timing of your look and your step. That's your very last tip. You get these 5 tips down and you will be solid, intermediate level and taking your forms up to that next level. If you would like more tips for leveling up your forms, there are going to be some links below. Make sure you like and subscribe to our page. We put out new videos every Thursday.